Hello,
Okay.
welcome.
Hello.
Hello,
Hello.
Podcast. How is everybody?
We're good.
I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
Virus
Days.
free.
Yeah. Well, the major one free anyway.
Yeah.
The most.
So obviously our podcast has changed dramatically. We're all now in self-isolation, and we hooked this up. Let's go around a little bit. Tommy, mate, how's New York?
Guys, yeah, Manhattan's delightful. It's funny, no virus here. Craziness.
Really?
Wow.
I heard on the
no,
news there
like-
was, but that must be fake news.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fake news. It's Trumpy.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, the day before I was meant to go, postponed the trip. So I am currently in tropical far north Queensland. Just
Wow.
like, kicking
Well-
coconuts and shit, which is awesome.
But Tommy, why did you postpone the trip? What possible reason could you have?
I mean, I don't want to bring this down a notch, guys, but COVID-19, don't know if you heard about it, a pretty serious deal.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
What's
And
your-
what?
and
I
New
mean,
York's-
how close did you come to going? I mean, had you packed your bag? Had you packed your undies?
Did you have a
Bags,
boarding
the bag,
pass?
Waited against-
bags packed. I'd steamed and pressed all my undergarments.
Tommy,
they- it was-
you didn't do that. Your omelette chef did that.
Whoa, yeah, no, Consuela, she can fold a 36 Calvin Klein undie like there's no tomorrow.
36, mate. Oh, please.
That's the funniest joke that'll be on this whole podcast.
Mate, add 10 to
you
that.
missed-
My God.
And what do
46.
you mean, mate?
46 extra
I've,
wide.
I've actually got a really small waist. I've just got big legs.
Stand up. We can all see you now. Stand up.
Yeah, come on.
Let's have a look.
Oh, look at the thigh on him.
So that's
Yeah.
that's what they call an hourglass figure. Is that right? Is that
Yeah, well,
I
is that
think
I'm
it's
more of an
melted ice cream.
avocado.
Is the technical.
I'm more of an
the
avocado.
melted ice cream?
My
So
PE teacher used to call me Quadzilla. I don't know why it was weird that he was my PE teacher, but that's what he used to call me.
right,
Yeah.
Miss-
a lot of one-on-one
uh,
coaching.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
So yeah, you were real close night before, or
Night before, and then pushed it back 3 months. And obviously, it's going to look like I'm going to have to push it back again.
well,
But
That's
they're
it.
gonna be saying they're going to be open for business come Easter. Who
Well,
said
I
that he
think
wants
Trump
everything
might-
reopened?
He wants everything
Well, he
reopened as it's time to close everything for Easter.
Yeah.
said- Well,
Yeah.
he said yesterday, didn't he? He was talking about how he didn't want the cure to be worse than the virus itself.
Yeah.
Like the guy's a dead shit,
Yeah.
allegedly.
Whoa,
Or
you're
like
not
closely
getting in now.
by. Well, yeah. The world leaders are doing a great job at the moment. You've obviously missed your flight to New York. Nick, you are currently under the rule of Jacinda Ardern. She has
Yeah.
locked
Mm.
the whole country down. How
We're
is that going?
We're a dictatorship now. So basically, I
It's
snuck
funny,
back into.
The way
Sorry.
New Zealand does it, though, she didn't lock them down. She sent them all to their rooms. It's
Yeah.
much more motherly.
All right, it is.
Do you know what? Actually, because we're tonight, midnight tonight, we're all in lockdown. And so, but everyone's sort of going out and doing their last bit of shopping. Do you know what it feels like? It feels like Christmas Eve. It feels like everyone's everyone's like getting their last bit of shopping in, and then everyone's sort of saying, Merry Corona, and and it's that there's an excitement in the air. It's kind of like Santa in a way, where like everyone's sort of they're hopeful that they don't get their gifts, and also they can't believe that Santa can get around the whole world in one night. And so it has that sort of feel to it, and everyone's trying to catch up with each other on Skype or on phone calls before the big day. It's like a Christmas Eve feel to it. So but yeah, we're in lockdown.
And what are you going to do in lockdown? Have you worked out activities? Like, have you got? I mean, you can't just sit and watch telly. What are you
That's
gonna
right.
do?
So we went down to the library and we got one of the books out, and so we'll just
You don't want to be greedy.
Yeah. So we got we're allowed one book each, but unfortunately we all got the same book. So we should have really communicated.
Have you found Wally yet?
Well, that's the thing. In the COVID-19 one, it's just him with no crowds.
Oh, they need to release the word Wally COVID.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, there's a joke right there.
Yeah.
There he is, but he shouldn't be.
Yeah, weird.
Behind that hazmat suit.
Yeah.
And the striped face mask.
He's behind that dead body.
Yeah.
Oh, Tommy.
Yeah.
Don't bring up the dead people. Okay.
No. Well, okay, so Nick's in lockdown. Tommy's isolating himself in North Queensland because he couldn't get on his flight to New York. Barney, you and I are kind of in the same boat in that they've put our show on hold.
Yes.
Maybe you can explain to everybody at home what's happening with us in at Fox.
So Fox have gone to, I think they're doing 6 hours live a day podcast style shows on Fox League. So
they've gone for more shows.
Yeah.
Yes,
38
more live
hours
TV.
of live TV.
They've gone the opposite of what everyone.
It's the new slogan: less sport, more shows.
Why not?
So it's a 3-hour shift in the morning, which I think weekdays is like 7 till 10. On the weekends, I think it's 9 till midday, and the afternoon shift's 3 till 6. So you and I, our Friday drive, we are 3 p.m.
Wow.
Doing, I think, either an hour or an hour and a half, based on the roster I saw yesterday.
An hour and a half.
Yeah.
Oh,
Mate, we struggle for half an hour on a Friday night.
It's going to be different. There's going to be a lot of you and I. I was thinking we could explore some sports that maybe you can do at home. Maybe you and I can demonstrate what a staring contest looks like.
Yeah, that's not bad. Although I am one. I normally go in for a pash after a staring contest, and we can't do that at the moment. So
that's why we're going to be at suitable distance, mate. Suitable distance.
That's
right. Could you try and save yourself and just say the show's recorded in Skype, and if it's not going very well, you just pretend to freeze for an hour and 27 minutes?
That might be our get out.
Yeah.
I reckon we just have some best of stuff ready to go, just to fire off. Just
just go. Welcome to the show. Wasn't this a great time in our lives?
Yeah.
Roll the tape.
We roll out that one episode we got out. But maybe if we play that one episode in half speed, it's an hour.
No, I say we do. We do it. We roll it out, and then we come back to us in studio. And go, oh, what a good time! I could watch that again and less.
Let's watch it. Yeah, some great ideas. If you're gonna go if it's like a drive time radio show, you're gonna need sound effects. One of you guys needs to have like a Bozo type name, or someone needs to be like Bonkers, or
you mean like the Professor and Barney, like that?
Yeah, give the names.
You know what? You've been waiting. This is actually your time, guys. This has been great.
I'd change it up.
If we don't do weather and
Baldy
traffic.
And dumb face.
What did you say? Sorry, Tom.
I reckon change it up. Create 2 new characters like Baldy and Dumbface, or like Reverse Alopecia and Dumbface, or something.
Reverse alopecia.
How is it reverse?
I would listen to that.
Face.
I would listen to that show.
Yeah,
I'd listen to that show.
Yeah,
Any show.
Hello and welcome to the Reverse Alopecia and Dumbface Hour. Thanks for joining us. I think we can do it.
Bang,
Coming up this hour, we got traffic, weather.
Yeah.
We check in on all the traffic. There's none out there. If you're listening to us in the car, please stop. That's really dangerous. Right. Moving on.
All right.
I reckon
So,
we do it.
yes,
You good?
Yeah.
we're doing an hour at home. Now, the other thing, Barney, you've obviously taken the Premier's advice and kept your sons home.
I'm a
how are you
part-time
going?
teacher.
Yeah, how's that going as the stay-at-home school dad?
Mate, I had to do a bunch of work yesterday, and so I left them alone for a while, and I sort of thought, how's this going to go? And I come in, and the bloody nerds had just done their schoolwork.
Wow.
Didn't have to give, they'd stuck to the whole little timetable the school sent them. They even took recess at the right time.
So I like it. I like it, Barney.
They had a little clock and they took recess at the time. They take it at school because my 9-year-old was worried that if they didn't, he'd be trying to learn English and his tummy would be telling him he should be having recess.
Oh my God.
I like Barney how out of this whole homeschooling situation that you've taken the role of the bullies.
Yeah. Someone's got to do it.
You've just given them dead arms for doing their work properly and stuff.
Well, they both got a wedgie.
Yeah, put the 5 minutes in a wheelie bin just to,
Keep them honest, Barney. Don't let them get ahead. Now, I'm slightly different in that I'm homeschooling a 2.5-year-old.
Yeah, how's that going?
Not great. My wife is a doctor, so she's still going out to work. Lucky lady. Pandemic, she's having the time of her life.
Good for her.
Yeah, and it's so it's this morning we did 2 hours of Play-Doh, solid Play-Doh.
It's a lot of Play-Doh.
My hands, they're withered from the Play-Doh work.
Weirdly,
sanitize the Play-Doh. You're gonna have to wash that all now.
I've heard that Play-Doh's worse than COVID-19 in terms of bacteria.
Really?
But, that's
he's a germaphobe anyway.
No, I'm having a hard time with all of this.
That's okay if it's just you guys, but don't be.
Well, I made Henry make gloves.
I mean, don't lend your Play-Doh to the 65-year-old neighbour. Whatever. This is not a time to be lending Play-Doh across the.
Why is there loads of holes punched in this Play-Doh?
Bob from next door is getting a bit bored.
Bob's on the ventilator and he's
one of the things Gobo said was look after your neighbours. Looking on it. Play-Doh to have sex with. All right, so all that aside, we are still doing a proper podcast today. We all have come up with a topic. Now, before we, Tommy, a 5-star review. Have you got one, or do you want me to quickly find one? I've got one here.
I don't have one.
That's okay. Well done. So just another 5-star review.
Because I'm on my phone, and if I leave, then my picture will go.
Mate, that is just another one of your excuses. All right, I don't want to hear more of your blame. Where are you going, Barney?
Just getting a drink.
Sorry,
it was just out of reach.
It comes from Jez L88, and it just says this podcast is essentially lit. 5 stars. Hashtag, and then the fire. What's that, an emoji? So we're asking people to get on. That's actually a positive one. We haven't had a positive one.
That's really good.
In a very long time.
Yeah, lit. Awesome.
Yeah, bruh. So get on. Give us 5 stars, and we don't care what you say. Have a crack at us. Call Barney's sons nerds. He does anyway. So just say whatever you want. Tell Tommy his line about the size of his underwear. Whatever you need to do, just get on there and do it.
I'm telling you, I'm a 36.
Mate, why have you got, we're just looking now, he's holding children's underwear. Why have you got children's?
Mate, they're in the drawer up here. I don't know what they are.
But what I can't understand is that you have, like you say, the 36 waist, but then you have big thighs. How are you getting the undies over your thighs? Are you putting them over your head first?
I'm a 34 waist, but I have to 36 to accommodate my thighs.
Oh,
34 waist. I'm a 34 waist.
Yeah, I've got the same size waist as you,
funniest thing I've ever heard.
Bruh. Hey, Nick.
Yeah.
Nick, you must be what, a 26 waist? What are you?
Yeah, I'm a 32, a 31.
Right.
31. But I'm also the height of someone Yeah, I'm not.
He's a
I'm also
36 height.
5'5". I'm a 36 height.
All right. Now, this is all by the by. So, today's
31,
topic...
31 waist, 36 height. Okay, anyway.
This is Tommy. Can you do it for us? Do you mind? I'm going to say the topic is cut short, but can you say your famous phrase for us?
Yeah.
Go on.
What's my famous phrase?
In the light of.
In the light
Come on.
of.
Oh, in the light of essentially. That's our topic is COVID-19 and times that sport has been cut short.
It's not. It's not COVID-19. People don't want to hear about COVID-19. It's in the light of the fact that the AFL and the NRL have been cut short. Because we are now going to look into other. Mate, no more C word. Say the C word again.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be an escape, Tommy.
People don't want to hear it. By the way, I can literally mute you on this thing.
Okay, but like, if we were to bring it up, do we have to talk about it like Voldemort? Like, do we be like, and the thing that should not be named?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So, in the light of the thing that not shall be named, essentially,
I think that's what they're doing in New York, isn't it? They're not actually saying what it is.
Yeah. Squeeze your dose of bullet there, Tommy. Anyway, so yes, in the light of that, so obviously AFL, NRL seasons have been cut short. We're not sure whether they're going to come back. So we're going to look at other moments in sporting history where things have been cut short. So we've each picked one today because obviously we're going a bit long on all the other stuff. So who would like to lead us off? Barney, traditionally, you're very good at leading us off.
I'll lead us off. I was thinking about this because in the light of the AFL being not lasting very long, I was thinking about another thing that didn't last very long. You guys would all be familiar with Gary Buddha Hocking. Played 274 games for Geelong between 87 and 2001.
He had a
38 goals.
He had a 38 waist.
No, I think he was more 31. He was a fit man. He wasn't actually. I think he 82 kilos. I think he ran at about 6 foot. So he was only thin. He was a ruck rover. He's in the AFL Hall of Fame. Geelong's team of the century as ruck rover. Now that's not what I really want to talk about because he had quite a long career, right? Okay. But in 1999, it's a long run up, all right? I'm pushing off the back bench.
Oh, mate. You're the best. And giving information people don't need to know.
We're just letting our credentials. I'm putting my credentials out there as an AFL fan.
Mate, what's his star sign?
What's his star sign?
Oh, my God.
I think you'd have to be a Cancer, wouldn't you?
And he's allergic to shellfish?
Barney, you should do a cooking show. You should do a cooking show, and you'd be like, so, this team won the NFL anyway. But that's not what I want to talk about. Anyway, lasagnas.
So then Barney would go, lasagnas, right. Here's a list of the ingredients you don't need. You don't need parsnip. You don't need strawberries. You know?
Anyway, this is all to give some context as to who we're talking about. This guy's a...
By the way, my nickname at school was Buddha, just to let you all know.
Why is that, Tommy? Is it because of your 34 waist?
With a 34 waist, because Buddha.
It's because my mum used to say I was enlightened.
Your mum can't give you your nicknames. That's worse than giving your own nickname.
You said at school they called you Buddha. Did your mum go to school and tell everybody to call you Buddha?
Even at
Mum, they're calling me Buddha, and she's like, "It's because you're enlightened." But even my back of my head, I was like, "It's because I'm as wide as I am tall," sort of thing. But
I thought it's because your mum gave you the nickname. Even at Barney's homeschool, you get bullied for that.
Especially at my home school.
Anyway. Sorry, Gary.
Sorry, Barney.
Gary Hocking. So the whole point of that was just to add, this guy's a big name. Anyway, 1999, he changed his name by deed poll to Whiskers. Now, he played at the Geelong Cats. He played at Geelong Cats his whole career, but he changed his name by deed poll to Whiskers as part of a promotion for Whiskers cat food. It only lasted 1 week. Whiskers. He changed his whole name to Whiskers, as near as I can tell.
He was just Whiskers. G'day on
just
Whiskers.
Yeah, g'day, Whiskers. It didn't last long. It was only for a week. First off, he's playing at the Geelong Cats. Whiskers is cat food. How's the logic there of, like, is it supposed to be that he's available for his teammates to eat or feed off, or what? What is the logic there? That spun me one way. Anyway, the AFL refused to list him in the football record as Whiskers, although Geelong listed him on the team sheet as Whiskers, which they later auctioned off. The reason, though, this is interesting. The reason was Geelong had a massive debt at the time. According to the Herald Sun article I read, they had like $7 million worth of liabilities. So the deal was he did it for the club. So it was $100,000 for him to change his name for the week. 80 grand went to the club, 20 grand went to him. Which you go, that's generous, but 20 grand's not bad for a week's work.
Yeah.
But pretty good of him. So I was thinking, one, that's are we saying this guy's a good bloke, or are we saying a bit of a weirdo? The other thing I wanted to ask is, okay, say the podcast's in debt. We need to raise some money for the podcast. Would you blokes be willing to change your name to a sponsor for just a week? Just change it by Dipolo.
Before you do that, the whole AFL's about to be in debt. Why are they not looking at the Gary Hocking model?
Well, I'm hoping that
every player
change their names.
Well, he's an assistant coach at Collingwood at the moment, so hopefully he's going into having a meeting with Gill, saying, "Listen, I think I've got a solution here. We could have Mercedes going up against BMW, like a good matchup in the forward 50. There, I don't know who'd attack and who'd defend. They're probably more your area there, Tommy. Which is your defensive car, the BMW or the Merc, mate?
I'd say the Germans are pretty resolute. They're both German, though, aren't they?
Yeah, they are, mate.
Very defensive game.
I think it'd be a boring game. It'd be a boring game.
Oh, God, it's behind
right.
the law.
Okay, so so we're in debt.
We're in debt.
I'm guessing where this is going is you've given us all offensive nicknames. Is that where this is going?
They're not offensive. I'm just suggesting that maybe we could change it. I've given me one too. I like to think.
Of course.
I was thinking about me. I went down the.
Tommy's mum's given him one.
I texted. Mine.
Sorry,
I like
very lovely one too.
I like to think I'm everyone's pal. Pal dog food down that road.
Nice. Yeah.
So I thought meaty bites. Meaty bites.
So good.
Okay. Pal was too obvious. Nick, I was thinking about you. So when we talk about New Zealand, what do you always mention, Tommy? Your favourite thing about New Zealand?
That's right.
A Central Otago.
Oh, peanut.
Pineapple lumps.
Pineapple lumps. Pineapple lumps would be a good one for you. Would you change your name to Pineapple Lumps for a week?
That's what my middle name is, so it's fine.
Nick,
What's all the
Pineapple
boys at the pub up here are calling me?
Pineapple lumps.
Oh, here comes pineapple lumps.
It goes pineapple lumps.
What have you got for the Tommy and me?
For Nick, I thought I was looking at different wines. There was one I found called Cockfighter's Ghost, which I had two questions: was what did he die of, and why is there a rooster on the label?
Cockfighter's wine sounds like it should always be a Simeon.
Yes. There we go, Nick. I think you've earned the sponsorship. Cockfighter Raddo.
Finish
Tommy,
on our back.
Tommy, I was thinking about you. All I could think was, Tommy, he's rich. It's family money. Old gold chocolate. What do you reckon, Tommy?
Old gold
chocolate.
chocolate.
I love dark chocolate. It's delightful. It's awesome.
Yeah,
great cooking chocolate as well.
Matches well with a whiskey too, which you don't mind.
Ooh,
Hey, just
I love a baby whiskey.
Barney, very quickly going back to your wine names.
Yeah.
Instead of the Pinot Noir, R. Kelly could be the Pin on Me.
So Does that mean we're getting R. Kelly on this podcast?
Why not? I'm like,
Phil, drop an R.
like-
Kelly track in here.
the remix to Ignition. That would be good. Anyway, Old Chocolate Gold is great. Old Chocolate Gold was another nickname they call him down the pub.
Old goal.
Oh God, I actually did have an email from your mum is giving you a nickname, but your dad has actually put an offer on the table for you to change your name to anything other than Erskine. He's happy to pay.
Oh fuck, where'd my sign?
And that's from the solicitors. Oh, that's a shame.
James,
Yes,
you mentioned
where's this
insulting. I was thinking, well, there's some people online who, believe it or not, don't really dig what we do. And I was thinking about some of the reviews we've had on Twitter in particular, where that one bloke who likes to call you, he doesn't refer to you as the professor, he refers to you as that bald, unfunny word that I'm not going to say on the podcast.
COVID.
It also starts with C.
Right.
But I was thinking,
I love that guy.
yeah.
He does.
But I was
he makes
thinking,
me feel great.
with all the beauticians shutting down,
Yeah.
why not lean into this nickname he's given you? Nad's hair removal, for when you need a bald, unfunny one.
Yes.
Oh, that's good.
Yes.
So is the whole thing Nad's hair removal?
Yeah, we just call you Nads. Change your name to Nads.
Yeah.
Would you do that
Alright.
for the podcast?
Oh, mate, absolutely. Anything at
All
the
right.
moment. I mean, I drove past Centrelink the other day. I really don't want to join that queue. So you can call me whatever you want. I don't care.
Can I just quickly say off the back of this, it doesn't, like, even though that guy got however much money, it doesn't actually work like that, because I've actually done it for the show. My actual name is Nicholas Radovanovich, and I tried to get us a very expensive watch sponsorship with the Raddo brand.
Is that why you're Raddo?
Yeah, but unfortunately it hasn't come through. So now if you guys could call me Nick Cassio from
Oh, that's okay. Get back in fashion. Hey, Tommy, it's like, I mean, you could get sponsored by Moyles, right? And like you could sell brisks so that it's Tommy Foreskin, right? Tommy Foreskin removal. So people can just have this foreskin cut off.
No, I like that.
Yeah.
And then it's sort of
and you could only work for tips.
Mate, this self-isolation works for you, mate.
Mate,
Stay in your house.
I'll just take a snip of it. It's fine.
Can I just say, it's so clear Nick's 2 hours ahead of the rest of us. That's how quick he's going.
Okay.
Mate,
Okay, very good. Now, who would like to go next? Who's up?
I've got a short one and a long one.
Okay.
Yeah, all right, here we go.
Alex
Go on,
Alex Karras, who was Karras was, I'm not too sure if this is the correct way of explaining what he does, but he was one of the best interior linemen of all time in NFL.
Yep.
And he was an even better gambler. So he owned a portion of the Atlantic City, like a bar in Atlantic City. And he was around in the 60s. And what he was doing is he was playing in the NFL, but his bar was also putting bets on the NFL, especially his team when he was like losing and winning and all that kind of stuff. And so he actually got caught. And so his season got cut short because he was forced to sit out the entire 1963 season. But what I like about the story is that when he came back, he was reprimanded so much about his gambling that when they came to the coin toss for this first game back after he got banned, he said, sorry, I can't do the coin toss because I'm not permitted to gamble. So I was just like, I quite like that.
Right, even him calling heads or tails.
It's like, oh, that's.
I love the fact that the guy got sat out for gambling and then he immediately came back and was a captain.
Yeah, exactly.
He must have been good.
He must have been pretty good. But yeah, that was Alex Karras. But my longer one, it's basically it's a different one because it's a referee's career that's been cut short. So it's a bit of a different one. Yeah. So this is So there's a guy called Steve Young who was a legendary NFL quarterback, and this story came out of his autobiography. And his autobiography. This may be a good thing for us to go through what our autobiography is called. His one was called QB: My Life Behind the Spiral.
Oh, that is good.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah,
I like a good byline on a biography too.
yeah.
Like that my life behind the spiral bit.
My Life Behind the Spiral is
What would
really
you
good.
think? What would your autobiography be?
I kind of like Behind the Eight Ball. Even though
Because of your
people would,
drug habit.
yeah, people think it's about Paul, but actually it's just a book about me being slightly on the slow uptake of technology. So, not quite getting into Facebook at the same time as probably everyone else did. Haven't had a TikTok account, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, what would your guys be?
Tommy?
Mine would be ours. We've talked about mine, or what a show I would do would be called. I think mine would be called The Sweatiest Man at Cranbrook.
Yeah.
I can't buy you dryness.
Yeah. Yeah. What about?
I like the picture of the cover of the book is Tommy fanning himself with money.
Yeah.
Trying to dry himself off.
What
Just
about
my
Tommy
undercarriage,
living behind?
though. I'd be fanning my undercarriage.
Yes. What about life behind the lie about my waist size?
And the middle of
who 38 all the pies?
Barney, yours?
I don't know. Maybe just Barney, equal comedy partner, not a sidekick.
Well, that's is it? You are the sidekick.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's a
You are the
fiction book.
sidekick.
But unfortunately, the only problem with that, it was launched after the Professor's book.
Which is life with a shitty sidekick.
who often tries to deny it.
The bloody publisher would bundle them as a 2-pack.
Wouldn't yours, Barney? Yours would be making a decent living out of a dumb face. I think.
50 Shades of Dumb Face.
Dumb faces and other ways to make a living.
There's no words, just a coffee table book.
Yeah.
It's a Facebook.
Yeah. And mine would be I was meant for so much more. That's all it says. I'm disappointed in myself.
With a smarter wife.
Yeah. How the radio show format changed my life.
Yours could be After the Foreword, with foreword by Dr. Andrew Rochford.
Yeah. That's it. That's what it is. Dumbest person.
I'll be successful.
Yeah. Dumbest person in my family. Oh man. All right, sorry, Nick, get back to it. So
he had an autobiography as an excerpt from it. He's basically, it was an interaction he had in 1985 when he played the Indianapolis Colts, and partway through, so this is basically about a referee's career has got cut short, and you can kind of see why as the story unfolds. So partway through the second quarter, Steve Young's in the huddle. And the head referee taps him on the shoulder and he says, "Can I talk to you for a second?" So already you sort of, what's going on here? He says, he stepped away from the huddle and he said, "Hey, listen, my daughter's going to BYU." And he said the next thing he knows, he starts trying to convince him that he should meet his daughter and like to take her out. And he says he couldn't believe it and all that kind of stuff. And then he was like going in the middle of the game, we're in the middle of the game, and then he's trying to pull this up, and he goes, "Okay," I said, "What's her name?" And he tells me what the name is, and he returns to the huddle. And then late in the game, they were down 31-23, and he's trying to mount a comeback. He says he scrambles out of the pocket and takes a brutal hit. It caused him to fumble just before the whistle blows to stop the play. He's lying on the ground when the defense recovers the loose ball. And it's basically the game's over and the other team's won. But suddenly out of nowhere, a yellow flag lands next to him. And the referee, whose daughter is headed to BYU, calls a personal foul on the defense. First down, Tampa Bay. He gets up, brushes himself off, and then the ref walks past and whispers, "She likes Italian food."
Tell me her phone number was stuffed in the flag.
And then like I found out later on in that season that that's what was happening, and then the ref didn't ref after that. But
tell you what Steve Young didn't realise though is that Brigham Young University is 98% of the people that go to BYU are of the Church of Latter-day Saints. So he also threw a yellow flag out to 7 other people that day.
Very good. Hang on, no.
I think you'll find it's only the blokes are allowed multiple wives.
Yeah, it's not 7 husbands.
Oh, man, it's equality, mate. But 2020, what? Like just.
So he didn't. So sorry, Nick.
Morals go out the window, do they?
Fast forward. He didn't marry the ref's daughter.
No, he didn't. But yeah, but he did mention it to the Referees Association, and then therefore the guy didn't ref again.
I think in the light of what's happening at the moment, you should change the end of that story and just be like, they got married, they're very happy, they're in social isolation together, eating Italian food.
Yeah,
just we need happy endings. Guys.
She won the MVP of his heart.
There you go. All right, is that Nick? Are you done? Should I go?
I'm done. Yeah.
All right.
You go.
Tom, are you happy to go last? You seemed pretty good at bringing it up the rear. I didn't even. Oh, man.
Oh, pineapple lumps seems to be.
I need some adults to talk to.
Yeah,
I need adults. Okay, so I'm going to go with Peter Norman, old Stormman Peter Norman, who you all would know as our greatest ever male Olympic sprinter. He won silver in the 1968 Mexico City Olympics. I think it's
pronounced Matt Shervington.
Yeah.
Well, Shervo was good for another reason.
Didn't Ralph DeBell win gold?
It's Ralph DeBell.
He won gold. He won gold for the Olympics.
Tommy.
Sprinting?
I think is 400 considered sprinting?
No. He would have had to have run really fast to get it.
All right, well, you want me to change it to he's the greatest ever 200-meter runner for Australia that competed in 1968. Are you happy with that?
Thank you.
That's better.
Absolutely. Thank you.
That's better.
Thank you.
He won silver in the 200 meters. Now, the reason why he's famous isn't because he won the silver. It's because of that very famous photograph.
Yes.
You remember the photograph? It's the Black Power photograph. He is the Australian that came second, that is standing in front of Tommy Smith, who won gold, and then John Karras, who won bronze. They're both standing behind him. Now, it's an amazing story that surrounds this whole thing. So people kind of knew that Tommy Smith, he was quite the activist. They knew if he won that he would make a bold statement, and they all thought Karras would come second. They thought these two were unbeatable. Then all of a sudden, this Australian guy from nowhere that nobody knew about won silver.
Yeah, he wasn't from nowhere. He's from Australia.
I think he was from Tasmania.
Okay, nowhere works.
Yeah. It's still good.
That's right. So anyway, they then, of course, before the ceremony, they say to him, "We're going to go out and we're going to make this bold statement." At that time in America, Martin Luther King's been killed, Robert Kennedy's been killed. There's riots happening in Mexico City with students. Australia's going through that. We're still on the White Australia policy till 1970. The whole world's going mad over race relations. So these two say to old Pete, "Look, we're going to go out there and we're going to do this Black Power salute. Just so you know, it might follow you around for a bit." He went, okay. They said, are you a religious man? He said, yes. They said, are you happy to make the statement? He said, yes. They said, do you believe in God? He said, well, one thing I believe in is God because I'm from the Salvation Army. So I thought, okay, he believes in God, but also he believes in going into pubs and hitting up piss people for loose change. That's his
Also standing outside train stations.
Yeah,
I can't go past them and not drop a coin in the box though. They have that moral hold on me. I don't know about you, but every time I just go,
it's the outfit.
What kind of
thing is when you go, oh, sorry, mate, don't have any change, and then they suddenly whip an FPOS machine out from somewhere. And you're like, oh God, they've moved with the times.
What kind of intensive training do you have to go through to get into the Salvation Army? Do you have to like go off? It's like a boot camp type thing.
They're all ninjas.
Training.
Yeah, they have to do burpees with buckets.
Yeah. Tambourines.
You got to climb over that wall, carrying blue stuff. The stupid wall they always do.
I want to see 50 puppy dog eyes right now.
Fake tears.
Right, anyway, so he says, yes, I will stand with you. So he goes out with them. Now, if you Google the photo now, everybody, get on your Google. This isn't just a you three. That's for the whole world that listens now that we're a massive podcast. You'll see in the photograph that Smith is holding his right hand up, doing the black power salute, which traditionally you need to do the black power salute with your right hand. But John Karras, he's got his left hand up doing the black power salute. Now, this is because
he's
guess what?
Because he's gay?
Nick.
Well, because when we're at school, that was the right and left ear thing.
Yeah, but
of an earring.
I know New Zealand is stuck in 1990, but you don't do jokes
Can't
like
be saying that.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay. Because he was.
Is it because the photo op, his hand would have been behind the other
Well,
guy?
no. Think about it really logically. So basically, they only had one pair of gloves.
Oh, the one pair.
Oh, they did too.
So they were standing. John Karras left his gloves back at the Olympic Stadium, and apparently they were standing and going, "What do we do? What do we do?" Old Pete walks in and goes, "Why don't you wear one each?" Mate, genius.
Wow.
So they go
You
out.
know what? Trust a salvo to teach a lesson about sharing. That's fantastic.
Right. So they go out, they put the gloves on. Now, Pete's like, well, I want to make my own stand because I believe that, all people are made equal. So as he's walking out to the ceremony, he sees a white Olympic rower who's wearing a pin for the Olympic Project Human Rights, which was at the same time going on, which was all about race relations. So he said to this Olympic rower, can I borrow your pin? I want to wear it on the stand, on the dais there. So he whacks on this pin, goes out. Now, it's that pin that caused him a lot of problems. Because obviously he is then, as much as he's not doing the black power salute because he was super white.
It has a different meaning when a white guy does it, doesn't it?
Yeah. So he went for that instead. Now, he then, as a result, so the two black guys go back to America, they're lauded as heroes, civil rights. People go mad. Welcome to the black community and love. He goes back to Australia and he's basically a pariah. He's shunned by the public because at that stage they still had the white Australia policy, all that stuff. Gets to 1972. This guy's just won a silver in running, which we don't do. He doesn't get selected for Munich 1972. Now, a couple of things. He did qualify with the third fastest time, but he was injured at the time and there was enough time for him to recover to run. So they said, look, he didn't get a time fast enough, but then he was like, well, come on, I'm the Australian champion. I just won silver in the last one. Anyway, they shunned him. So the Australian Olympic Committee came out and said, look, it's got nothing to do with that. He wasn't treated poorly at all. I want to read this to you. They made a statement straight after. It said, Norman was not punished by the Australian Olympic Committee. He was cautioned by chef de mission, Judy Patching, on the evening of the medal ceremony and then given as many tickets as he wanted to go and watch a hockey match. Now, you telling me that's not punishment?
No, that is.
Please.
Mate,
oh, God.
You know what? It's one sport that can bring us all together.
Any sport.
That's a punishment. Mate, that's too cruel. That is, honestly, I feel really bad for him.
I heard it was the third and fourth playoff as well.
That'd be a very good match, guys. That'd be a very good match. Bronze medals.
You're a loser. Now,
excellent.
Fast forward. So that time that he ran was 20 seconds flat. If he ran that same time in 1972 at the Munich Olympics, he would have won the 200 meters, which is what he was capable. Now, the other thing, if he'd have run that at the 2000 Olympics, he would have won gold. Now, I know what you think. He would have been about 55, 60. Doesn't matter. He's still would have won gold. All
I'm
right.
also concerned that track times have gone backwards.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought we
Are
were
we meant to be
doping
getting
now.
faster?
What's going on?
Yeah.
Well, we
yeah.
were doping for a bit, and then we weren't doping. Also, at that time, it was when Michael Johnson was winning, and apparently he wasn't doping. So, one big thing also was, so he was shunned by the Australian Olympic Committee up to the point where he got to 2000. It was our Olympic Games, and he didn't get invited to Sydney. He lives in Melbourne. They said, "Oh, look, we couldn't fly him up." You know, obviously flights, Tiger Airways back then, probably.
Yeah.
You know, $75 you're looking at. You know, yes, they didn't exist, but hey,
And he wanted,
Get him.
and he wanted a bag.
yeah, that's right.
All right,
So
behind
you're
you.
gonna add
All right,
$40. Right?
oh, Jesus, man.
So they said
Get him
no,
a
we
ticket
couldn't
on the
fly him up.
XPT.
Obviously,
Yeah.
well, that's right. Back in 2000, there was no other way to get to Sydney other than planes.
No,
So-
no, XPT, mate. 10-hour
Well,
overnight.
No, they shut it all down.
Brief stop in Albury.
Mate, this guy, he could have
so-
run.
He then was saying, you know, I've been shunned by the Olympic Committee again. America caught wind of it. They flew him to Sydney, the American Olympic team. He then was.
Now, how did they find the money? Come on.
Oh, Air Force One. I think they went and picked him up on Air Force One.
Bloody hell.
Anyway, so he then ended up going to. So when Michael Johnson won the 200 and the 400, he had a big party to celebrate it. Michael Johnson, he invited Peter Norman as the guest of honor, and he got Peter Norman up to speak. And when he got up to basically, so Michael Johnson's accepting everybody's praise, he put it all onto Peter Norman and said, you know, this is the man that we need to be respecting, blah, blah. Meanwhile, Australia's doing nothing for the bloke. They come out. Australia says, hang on, we did enough. In Melbourne, he was at the ceremony where we told the table tennis people that they'd qualified for the Olympics. So he got to go to the ping pong.
That's not the hockey team announcement, but it's pretty good. The ping pong.
So much better.
Anyway, this poor bloke, obviously career cut short, could have done a lot more. He dies in 2006. American Athletics Association calls it the Peter Norman Day from now on, and they celebrate it every year. We don't. But one thing, 2012, he and his family received a parliamentary apology for the way that he was treated. So
Wow.
he's been dead for 6 years, so he doesn't know.
And they were mates as they remained friends. The two American gentlemen and they were actually his pallbearers at his funeral.
Yeah,
So-
They carried his coffin.
So is the
And
Australian?
it was the fastest time anyone had ever got out of a church.
It was only a problem when they tried to hand the coffin on to two other runners. Because they dropped it. It was a baton. They dropped it.
They dropped it.
Oh no!
They got overtaken by another funeral that was going past.
Yeah.
It was bloody Jamaican. They were going straight past.
The Jamaican funeral.
But Marley's funeral was done and dusted.
Oh,
You know what was funny? We got so close to just being respectful.
yeah. And is Australia Olympic Committee, have they said anything about, because Americans obviously call it Peter Norman Day, is the Australians going to now change it from Ping Pong Australia Day or Ping Pong Naming Day or whatever that was called? What do
I'll
they?
be honest,
Yeah,
I didn't read into it.
Greg Norman Day.
Greg Norman
Yeah.
Day.
Anyway, good old Pete Norman. Just
Good story, mate. Well done.
Funny. That is
That was a good one.
Tommy,
follow that,
bring
Tommy.
it home, buddy.
Bring it home, Tommy.
Okay, guys. I am going back to America. And this story,
Mate, you didn't make it to America in the first place.
Oh,
I actually got
Barney.
turned down at customs.
Too soon.
Too
Too
soon, mate. Mate, I'm depressed.
Yeah.
Okay,
Come-
my story
come on,
is
Pineapple Lumps.
about the Baltimore Colts.
Oh yes.
Oh,
Baltimore
God,
Colts.
Pineapple Lumps, eh? Baltimore
Mm.
Colts, the NFL team, and how they came about, basically. And it was in regards to being cutting off or cut short. It's about how a franchise ended in a really strange way.
Mhm.
So the Baltimore Colts were a relatively successful football team through like the 60s, 70s, and even like the early 80s, or like 81, 82 sort of thing. And then their owner Jim Irsay, who had bought the team, we actually bought the LA Rams, and then the current team of the Baltimore Colts at the time. His wife wanted to move to the West Coast, so they essentially swapped teams. So
essentially, someone hit him. Someone hit him.
Oh, shit, I said essentially.
Yeah.
So the owner of so he owned the LA Rams, and the Baltimore Colts owner. They swapped teams, and they found themselves. I mean, he really got the rough end of the stick. I know I'd rather live in LA than Baltimore, to be fair. And issues arise through like the stadium that they used. Memorial Stadium in Baltimore was only a 65,000 seater stadium, which seems to be quite big. But I think a lot of the plumbing and a lot of the change rooms were below the standard of the NFL. So Jim Irsay, he kept having
the NFL have plumbing standards.
Well, like, I mean, I feel like if you need to go and do a nervous poo before the game, you need to be able to flush.
I'm
right?
thinking there's an NFL commissioner going around flushing the toilets. That's not the kind of suction we need for these boys.
There's no way you could get a football down there.
So in 1974, this guy's got an unfortunate first name. His first name is Hyman, and his last name is Pressman. And Hyman Pressman was a some would say a barrier. No, he was he's a local politician in Baltimore, and Irsay had kept putting forward like ballots to try and get a new stadium built for the Baltimore Colts. And he kept threatening to leave if the stadiums weren't built. And Baltimore kept coming back, we'll build it. And he basically in 1974. I saved myself. Hyman Pressman, he went into the election and named this ballot question P, but didn't tell anybody what it was. And it was a kibosh of this new stadium being built, and he won the election, and therefore no stadium was ever built in Baltimore. And he gave controlling rights to the stadium to the Baltimore Orioles, the baseball team. So that really pissed Irsay off, the owner of the Baltimore Colts. He started discussions with Indianapolis, who had just built a new stadium, a $75 million stadium in Indiana. And he started doing like covert discussions with them about moving the team to he was either going to go to Phoenix or he was going to move to Indianapolis. And the guys in Indianapolis said, you can have full control over the stadium. The stadium's a football only stadium. You can bring the team here, and that is that. So under the team under the administration of Irsay, he packed the bags of the team in the middle of the night. So in 1979, in March 1979, he packed the team up. Sorry, not in 79, 84. In March, he packed the team up in the middle of the night in Baltimore, packing the whole, like all the stadium goods, everything into the back of 15 different lorries that were paid for by the mayor of Indianapolis, because his brother owned a shipping company, like a transit company. And in the middle of the night, they moved the whole of the Baltimore Colts to Indianapolis, and they took 15 different roads, so no one would be suspicious. I love how no one would be suspicious.
Did they tranquilize the players?
The stadium, the only thing they heard for about 4 hours was beep, beep, beep,
Yeah.
beep. He's like, I wonder what's going on in the stadium, but no one knew apparently. They woke up the next morning, and on the drive down, the NFL commissioner Pete Rozelle had announced that the new team had been permitted, and they'd actually started the start of the NFL season in Baltimore, and then they would finish the season in Indianapolis. So they changed in the middle of a season.
Changed the name of the team in the middle of the season?
They changed the name of the team in the middle of the season and where they played.
And the hometown.
And the hometown in the middle of the night. They woke up and they were the Indianapolis Colts.
So the other to Nick's question, were the players drugged, thrown in the lorry, and then they woke up in Indiana?
Like, how did they?
The players were all told the day before, because the Baltimore government came out and said that they were gonna seize ownership of the team through a bill called eminent domain, and they essentially were gonna They were gonna take ownership over the team and not allow them to move. But they had to get out within 48 hours. So he packed up on March 28, 1984. He packed up the lorry and left.
Wow.
But the aftermath of the whole thing is the story being cut off is Baltimore did not have a professional NFL team or a professional football team for 12 years until 1995, where the owner of the Cleveland Browns, Art Modell, announced his intentions of packing up the Cleveland Browns and moving them to Baltimore.
Well, he did the same thing.
No, he was intending to do the same thing, but then the NFL, after the shitstorm that was the Indianapolis Colts, the Baltimore Colts, the Indianapolis Colts, said, no, you can have a new team, you can have a subsidiary team, but you can't move the history because all the NFL history of the Indianapolis.
The NFL said, I don't know who you think you are, Browns, but we don't want a shitstorm of Browns, all right?
Because instantaneously, the NFL changed all the records for the Baltimore Colts. All the players that made the Hall of Fame and all of that all changed to Indianapolis Colts. The Indianapolis Colts were seen to won the Super Bowl. Like all their records had been changed. And the city of Cleveland basically just kicked up an absolute shitstorm. Essentially, Art Modell, he created a new team, the Baltimore Ravens. I didn't say it. He created the Baltimore Ravens in 19...
That's so Ravens.
In 1988,
someone's got young kids.
The new team settled in Baltimore Ravens. And the big one was the one thing that they didn't move from Baltimore to Indianapolis when the Colts moved was a marching band. And there's a famous documentary about the Baltimore Colts marching band that would refuse to move. But when Art Modell settled 12
so
years
they're
later,
a stationary band, Tommy.
Yeah, exactly. They're just a band. They're an orchestra.
Marching on the spot.
That might have been the name of the docker.
Marching on the spot.
The spot. They're now known as the Baltimore Marching Ravens. But since then, the two teams successfully, the Baltimore Ravens have actually won 2 Super Bowls since the time of the move. The Indianapolis Colts have only won 1, but the Colts are leading the head-to-head battle 11-4.
So are we saying go Ravens or go Colts?
Relatively successful.
I think we're saying.
I think right now go Ravens. They made the championship games last year and they lost, but yeah, it's
why did they choose Raven as a name, Tommy?
Because everybody was raving about it. Everybody was raving about it.
Yeah, hey, Barney.
There's a big ecstasy dance scene in Baltimore, so they went to rave. So they called them the Ravens.
Their logo on the outside of their logo was glow sticks.
Yeah, it was very close to being the Baltimore Pingers. But, I mean, the
Baltimore what? Sorry,
Pingers.
The Pingers.
The Baltimore Pingers.
I mean, the Shelvers was banned from the
Baltimore Shelvers.
The Baltimore Shelvers.
It was.
Right.
Yeah. It was proposed, but
we've hit an hour there. That's probably enough for people. Just a reminder, our socials are still going. We're now at Narrow World of Sports on all of them, or on Twitter we're at Narrow OS because we couldn't have of sports. Get on, give us a review. We're also going to upload this as a video to YouTube so you can watch us each week. It's not that interesting, to be honest.
I'm going to do it topless next week, so...
that'll be
a promise.
All right.
And don't forget to, Prof,
I'm going to get good at the nipple tassels.
Don't forget to tune into the radio TV show.
Yes, 3 p.m. Fridays on Fox League Live, and I believe we're repeated at 6 p.m. as well.
So we're up against the news. Nobody's watching the news at the moment.
Well, we're going to be doing We're going to be doing Ask Barney as a
Yes,
totally
hashtag Ask
original
Barney.
segment.
What kind of
Do you know
questions
what the
do you
funniest
want?
thing about the news is? You know those press conferences ScoMo's doing? I love how they're coming on during maths with no shit ton of people are watching. How they get the social distancing out there. They're interrupting the screening of maths knowing like the whole country's watching.
Hey, are you guys for your show? Are you guys going to get a sign language person for your show? That would be great.
Tommy, can you do sign language for us? Box in box while we're doing the show. Yes.
Oh, A-OK.
Okay.
Vogue, A-OK.
Vogue, A-OK.
Your mother. Okay, that's it, guys. I'm going to end it there. We'll be back next week for more bullshit. Everybody stay safe out there. Love yous all.
Be well.
All right.
Self-isolate.